Welcome, Pumpkin and Honey Buddy, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Reviews from Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And, hey, we finished Bond already, so Mike and I have agreed that we are going to do a review swap. A movie that Mike has not seen, that I have seen and love. And then next week, vice versa. A movie I have not seen, but Mike loves.
Yep.
So we started off with me. And that movie is my favorite movie that does not have the words Star or Wars in the title, 1994's Pulp Fiction.
I watched for the first time last night.
Yes. I love this movie. I saw this movie in the theater. I saw it right before the zeitgeist of the film came out. And to me, in 1994, as someone who had just finished college, I don't think I'd ever seen anything like this before. I've seen independent films before, and I've seen films that took a different way of telling a story before, but nothing hit the mainstream the way that Pulp Fiction did. And based on your feelings of the movie itself, I know you cannot deny that this is
absolutely. I just do not like Tarantino as a director, and nothing I saw last night changed my opinion one iota. In fact, it reinforced it.
Okay.
I like maybe 15, 20 minutes of a 2.5-hour movie.
Okay.
The rest of it I thought was, I would rather have not have watched it.
Oh, okay.
It was one of the most unpleasant film watching experiences I've had in a very, very long time.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
I know you said you wanted that time back, so that was
yeah, very much so.
So, all right. So let me ask you then, what was it you didn't like about it?
It would be a quicker conversation if I told you what I did like about it.
All right, go for it.
Harvey Keitel's character. I did enjoy him. I thought he was a nice addition to the movie.
Yep.
And the final conversation between Jules and Tim Roth's character.
Oh yeah. Well, it's oh god, Ringo. Well, at least that's what he's calling him. He's calling him Ringo.
Okay.
He doesn't have a name other than Pumpkin or Ringo.
I thought it was Honey Bunny.
No. No. Amanda Plummer is Honey Bunny.
So he must have been Pumpkin.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That scene I thought actually was effective.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie, not nearly as much as so.
Okay.
The entire scene, the Vincent taking Mia out on a date. One had one of the scene, the shot scene was one of the hardest ones to watch I've ever had in a movie going experience. I was like this the whole time, and I did not like it at all. And I thought the entire scene could have easily been dropped and nothing would have changed. In fact, most of the movie could have been dropped and nothing would have changed. It was a movie about things that happen and then we move on. Nothing really had any effect.
All right. Well, and a lot of that's essentially, this is based on Tim Roth is listed as Pumpkin in the credits. Kurt, thank you. I think Ringo was the name that Jules made up for him.
No.
I mean, the thing in Pulp stories is that they are short, little interstitials where little to nothing actually happens. You might get reintroduced these characters.
Which would be fine if you were just reading a little book for maybe 20 minutes and put it down. This was a 2.5-hour movie of scenes that have no purpose.
Well, I don't know if they have. So essentially, the major arc of the story, and this is a movie that didn't require to have character arcs. The closest thing to an arc that we get is, even though it's kind of disjointed and broken up, is that Jules is done.
Yeah.
Jules is done with it. And I have a feeling that even though, Alexis Arquette almost killing them, pre-transition Alexis Arquette,
Is that the guy that shot and missed?
Yeah, the one who was in the bathroom with the
Okay.
damn hand cannon. That
Yeah.
Phil Lamar, voice of Iron Man in the cartoons.
Oh, the voice of a lot of things. He was the
Yeah,
voice of
he's the voice of a
Samurai
lot of
Jack.
stuff.
He's done so many things.
Yeah, I feel like that was just the final straw of Jules just needing out. It's not an easy life, and I feel like there is an arc there. And when you asked me, are there any likable characters in the movie, I said Fabian, definitely, maybe Jules. And Fabian is a
She's a
sympathetic
side character at most.
She is. No, absolutely. She is just there because that is what grounds Butch. It's weird because this movie does, and it's because this movie doesn't follow traditional structure. I can see where you are coming from, that not much happens in the things that don't happen. It's more like there are little stories that people have. The whole thing about Mia overdosing on heroin. There, there will be a point later on that I'm going to talk about, but it's just like
I think it was crack.
No, it was heroin.
Oh, I thought it was cocaine.
No, it was Vincent. No, Vincent was a heroin addict. She was a coke addict. She snorted Vincent's heroin because it was wrapped in a baggie instead of a balloon, which is what Lance told Vincent at the beginning of the movie.
See, I didn't realize that you could snort heroin. I thought you had to inject heroin.
No, you're not supposed to, and that's why she had that reaction.
Okay.
It's just the way that it ingests. And I didn't know, I mean, this was like the first time I was like, oh, I guess that is what would happen. You know, like 94, the bells are going off. But the whole thing was leading up to, if that hadn't have happened, Vincent would have totally had sex with Mia, and he would have been, and his words, a goddamn grease stain. So it's the thing that had to happen. Now, yeah, your reaction to that shot is no different than a lot of people who went to the theater. I saw this movie about 5 or 6 times in the theater, and every time it was with somebody new. And every time I went, I remember this because my roommate at the time, I took her, and she was just like this, snorting Kill to Do, sang the band Canned Heat. Yeah. 70, man, those 70 grease balls. They, but they, yeah.
And Vincent ended up being a grease stain anyway.
All right.
Like 6 hours later.
Let me tell you the story. Okay. This was a great, I've read a number of great little pieces about, looking back at Pulp Fiction, and that Vincent is the worst at everything. He's not a good hitman.
Nope.
He's essentially, Vincent's story is that we know that he was in Amsterdam for 3 years. And he was probably in Amsterdam because he fucked up a hit and had to hide away while the heat died down. That is implied. It's never said, but it is implied in the movie that that's what happens. So he's incompetent to begin with. This job that he is given with Jules, who is a well-respected hitman from Marcellus Wallace, he is just kind of there to keep him company, to be a backup. But it feels like Vincent was the one who was in charge of getting the shotguns for that job, and he didn't do that. Now, Marcellus only looks at him as, well, he's incompetent enough, but I'll make him take my wife out while I'm out of town. He fucks that up. He first of all, shows up high. He shows up high to her house.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the restaurant. I really wish that somebody would fucking franchise Jackrabbit Slims, but what are you going to do? You don't tell me you wouldn't want to eat there. Come on.
I don't know. The Ed McMahon guy was really annoying.
That was, yeah.
But I mean, if you had Buscemi, Steve Buscemi,
Buddy Holly, yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. And it was funny, too, because I didn't realize until, I think, like, my 3rd or 4th viewing that was Mr. Pink from Reservoir Dogs.
Well, I've never seen.
I know you've never seen
Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs, but you know who Steve Buscemi is now.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi, to me, I'd eat anywhere that had Buddy Holly as my server. I don't think Buddy Holly is much of a server, though. I would have I wish they'd stayed Marilyn Monroe's section. Which one? There were two. No, that's Mamie Van Doren of Mystery Science Theater 3000 fame.
Yep.
And I just watched Girls Town, like, that month, so I got the joke, and then it's just Gigantor. So you've got that. So he shows up high to a date, does all that, leaves his heroin in his jacket that she is wearing, leaving drugs. So I don't know if he knew that she was a cokehead or not, but left them in her pocket. Then calls up his drug dealer on a cellular phone, which were really traceable back then, to do that. And then finally, meets his end as he's essentially, I'm going to assume, there to keep Marcella's company just on the off chance that Butch shows up at his apartment. He goes to the bathroom, shuts the door, which, all right, I'll admit, I'm guilty of shutting the door in the bathroom when I'm the only one in the house, but left his goddamn gun on the counter.
What was the point of that book that he had?
I think it was just a book of stories. The other thing with that too, it just indicates heroin addicts get constipated really badly. And much like the orange in The Godfather, if somebody eats an orange, something bad's going to happen. Every time Vincent goes to the bathroom, something bad happens. He goes to the bathroom 3 times in this movie. And all 3 times something bad happens. Mia overdoses. He gets killed. The diner gets held up.
Right.
He is incompetent. And it's funny because it's funny because he'll pick fights for no reason. He instigated his argument with Butch.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because this was supposed to be his career resurgence. He had 2 movies after that and essentially just went back to doing direct-to-video stuff and just being a punchline. But in the meantime, we finally got Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson.
Yeah. The movie, bright spot of this movie for me. This
movie, if nothing else, created the legend of Samuel L. Jackson.
Right. Oh, I thought of one more thing that this movie did good. I finally understand all of Mike Cicerone's stories about Fox Force 5.
Oh, yes. Fox Force 5.
I thought that was an actual thing.
Broken Arrow was his magnum opus. Oh, I don't know. I think his best post Pulp Fiction movie is definitely Face Off. And even I haven't watched that movie in forever. So I don't know if it's now just stupid.
I don't think any movie can be someone's magnum opus when they play second fiddle to Christian Slater.
That's true. Such a hammy villain. Yeah, that's a tough one too because Howie Long is in that movie. God. Somebody floated him being Captain America at some point.
And they were immediately shut up.
Yes, exactly. That just falls into the Glenn Danzig's Wolverine camp.
Yeah.
But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson became a legend in this movie. I will argue that either Travolta should have been nominated for supporting actor and not lead actor, because there is no lead actor in this entire movie. Or Jackson got a Best Actor nomination for this instead.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's beating Landau that year anyway for Ed Wood, which they wouldn't have. Martin Landau was phenomenal in Ed Wood.
Yes, he was.
But but the Fox Force 5 joke is funny. It shows that Tarantino's got a depth of useless kitsch knowledge, but in a way that's not as, it's not as fabulous and campy as like a John Waters.
No.
But the nods to Fox Force 5, which essentially could have been any exploitation film of the early 70s.
Angel's Revenge.
Yeah. what was it? The oh my god, what's the name of that cartoon? The one with the still photo and the mouth superimposed on it. What? Clutch Cargo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that when young Butch is watching a cartoon, he's watching Clutch Cargo.
Oh, is that what that was?
That was Clutch Cargo, yeah.
Oh. I did notice the nice Emil Sitka cameo.
Yep. There's a
as a Stooge fan, I respected that.
It's just that there's a wealth. Oh, thank you, Kurt. Clutch Cargo. I don't know why it took me so long to remember that, but there's a wealth of just stuff to look at, to listen to. This movie is an audible buffet. I love this soundtrack. Not to be confused, Lancelot Lank's Secret Chimp. Well, yeah, I know what you meant. That's just like, like they said, you put peanut butter on a monkey's mouth, it's going to make him talk.
That's right, I got Mr. Ed to talk.
No, I fully expected you were. This isn't your cup of tea. This wasn't something that I tried to push way early in our friendship.
Yeah, this might have ended the friendship early.
Maybe. I feel. Hey, sorry,
I heard
cats. Yeah, show set, and I think I got married down here too.
Oh, nice.
So, but I feel like if there was a Tarantino movie, I feel like there's definitely something in there for you, and it might be Kill Bill.
Yeah, that's the only one I've ever had any inkling to maybe go see.
Kill Bill is very much, it is every Japanese or American samurai 70s movie rolled into one. There are pieces of anime in there. There's J-pop. The 5, 6, 7, 8s are a J-pop band. It's
the only thing though is that Tarantino does a lot of camera angles and tricks that I did not like at all. Like so many close-ups, unnecessary close-ups. I mean, it's just on one part, like two people talking, like a two-shot. That's fine. He was gonna see how he puts the drugs in the bag and twist ties. How he does. I didn't need to see that. That did not further my intent and my enjoyment of the movie. It's like I didn't watch that scene. Like I hope they show how he makes that because I don't know if they're gonna do it otherwise. No.
I feel like in this case, because with a lot of independent filmmakers, especially at this time, we do have to look at this in the context of at this time, independent filmmakers were doing essentially what Kevin Smith was doing. Put a camera on a tripod. Here's your static 2 shot. Now we got a setup shot here. Somebody's going to walk in from the right, exit on the left, and that's really about it. I feel like stuff like, especially the Cochise scene, the scene where Travolta's getting high. I would have rather watched it the way it was, which was essentially a montage, instead of just watching him sitting on Lance's shitty bed in his guest bedroom, just shooting up. You got enough of a look of what he's doing, and it builds as a montage. There's stuff with some of the other close-ups, especially like the watch. Every time that Christopher Walken talked about the watch, they got closer and closer to that watch because that watch was so pivotal to what was going to come up. And by the way, I don't know anybody who didn't use that as an audition monologue in the years 1995 or 1996. My God, between that and the Dennis Hopper True Romance, Why Sicilians Are Dark When All Other Italians Are Light monologue, also written by Quentin Tarantino, in True Romance. It's
and like I wish he would use a tripod or at least some kind of steadying event more, because like the scene where the opening scene where Marcellus is talking to Butch, I could see the camera actually like kind of moving from side. It's like, put it on a tripod, just keep it steady. It just looked cheap.
It's. I think some of that was also because they were trying to give it. It was directly from Marcellus's point of view, when it's just Butch, and then when they cut back and you see the Band-Aid on the back of his head and all that.
It just, you could tell it was just somebody with a camera on his shoulder who like couldn't quite keep it steady. I was like, I it bugged me. It really bugged me.
The cost of this movie cost $6 million to make. I mean, it was also the highest grossing independent film of all time to its point, and one of the most profitable films ever. Not to say that adds to its quality, because the Blair Witch Project made a shitload of money. Nobody ever talks about that movie anymore.
No.
It's there's something about the way it was, and again, we're going back to when you didn't see this in movies. You got sweeping vistas in movies. You got close-ups, and they weren't even like good close-ups too. They were just kind of like off-center. I don't even think we were getting Dutch angles at this point.
Well, we were getting on Good Eats.
You're getting Good Eats, but that was in '99.
I thought it started earlier than that.
No, it started like it's 97, 98, 99, around there, not 94.
Oh.
And when you compare it to the movies that came out in 1994, I know you love The Shawshank Redemption, came out in 94. Forrest Gump, which I just recently rewatched, came out in 94.
How well does it hold up?
Huh?
How well does it hold up?
I still don't care for it. I've made my feelings clear on it. I don't. There's nothing really wrong with the movie, but I find it a bit offensive that the one person who walks his way through life and doesn't make any waves will become successful. Everybody else who actually gets off their ass and try, they all lose their legs. I think they said it was actually hepatitis C and not AIDS, but whatever. And Jenny's still the fucking worst. Didn't get Dutch angles until Battlefield Earth. I don't know. No, Kurt. Schumacher is doing Dutch angles for the Batman films. Low Dutch angle. I mean,
must see the crotch.
Overall, I mean, yes, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Even my favorite movies have some issues. I found it weird that I found it almost unsettling to watch the Miramax logo come up.
Oh,
knowing that within 2 hours, I was going to listen to Quentin Tarantino blast out the N-word about 8 times.
Yeah, and seeing Weinstein's voice name pop up in there.
Oh yeah. This
was the most violent Disney movie I think I've ever seen.
Well, Miramax only used Disney as a distributor.
Yeah.
So they were still doing their own independent thing. But yeah, it's weird because I feel like I'm not trying to excuse it by any means, but it's weird how Tarantino is got like, it's going to make me sound like, bravo, sir, that he's got the golden ticket. But it's almost like it comes up, it's always an issue when a movie releases, N-word, and then he just move on freely, which I will say that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, no issues. I mean, the only problematic thing is the fact that we all know at this point that he is a wicked foot fetishist.
It was also weird seeing Tarantino pop up in the movie.
Yeah.
And
I think
he's not. He's surrounded with a lot better actors than he was.
Right. I think that he has put himself as a face actor in only 3 of his movies. He's only actually appeared as a face actor in 3 of his movies.
Well, he's been in other movies though. Like
he was in Destiny Turns on the Radio, which I was such a fucking idiot and paid movie money for.
What was that vampire movie he did?
Oh, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's probably the best performance he's ever given in anything. But that, I don't know if I'm going to credit Robert Rodriguez for that. But out of his 3 face cameos, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Django Unchained, I feel like Jimmy in Toluca Lake is probably his best performance out of the three, because I think he was just kind of just being himself. It's like, I'm gonna throw myself in this role. I'm gonna bitch about my wife picking coffee. I'm gonna say the N-word a whole bunch of times, and that's it.
Oh.
Nope. That's right, he was in Desperado. Oh, Jesus.
I've never seen Desperado.
Oh, ooh. Ooh.
I think I've only heard of it before.
Yeah. It's excellent, and might be an interesting comparison to do sometime. El Mariachi and Desperado, which is one was released 30 years ago this year, and looks like it was made on a shoestring budget. Desperado, same director, same basic premise, is like, oh, they had a budget this time. But yeah, thank you, Kurt, for remembering that Tarantino was in it. Tarantino appeared in a lot of stuff. He hosted SNL. It wasn't a very good episode, but yeah. But it's like, out of those scenes, this is the one that I don't mind as much, as problematic as it is. And just overall, it's just this movie has got a cool factor to it, and it's something that I don't know why. I don't know. I've seen it pop up a lot in the last few weeks. People talking about Pulp Fiction again. And it's weird because it's not an anniversary. Nobody died. No, there are no actors in this movie who have died yet.
I mean, another thing that kind of bugged me about this movie is that how a lot of scenes just sort of peter out. Like them dancing. It goes on for like 5 minutes and then it just ends. The scene just stops.
It fades, and then they bring them back, because we were going to finish that song. I'll agree with you. I was like, I don't remember this dance scene feeling this long, because there was like, they got the big shots in there. They got the Batman, they get the Batusi and all that. They were doing their, the mashed potato and everything, and then they just kind of like they let it go for another minute. And then they fade out because you're supposed to see that the time is passing. They've had a good time. He's totally going to have sex with her if she doesn't overdose on heroin.
But that's like, that was the most glaring time. But it happened a lot where like it's just, the scene just sort of ends. It doesn't stop. There's no cut. It's just, they decide, okay, let's just turn the camera off now.
No, Butch and Fabian drive right off in the sunset and on Zed's chopper.
Yeah. I got that scene. As famous as that scene is, it was just another scene that just happened for me. So many of those scenes are just like, yeah, okay, things are happening, and now we're moving on to something completely different.
It's part of the charm of compilation of Pulp stories.
Oh, well, it didn't charm me too much.
But I feel like this movie couldn't have been done in a linear sense. I don't feel like, even if it were broken down into chapters, but we got from the Royale with cheese conversation all the way to Vincent being shot to death. I feel like if that were a linear story, I don't think it would have had the same impact as if they switched stuff around. And
I think ending on Jules's scene, that was effective. I think they should have cut the rest out. We didn't need to see the whole story with Butch. Was unnecessary. It was like a side story that we spent half the movie on.
This isn't a linear structured movie. This isn't it's not one person's story. It's multiple people's stories, and that they do intertwine every once in a while. It's not, again, this isn't something you see all the time. And in fact, excuse me, you don't see this at all in any other Tarantino movies.
Yeah, I guess like there were only a couple of the stories that I actually had any kind of interest in, and the rest of the stories I was like, I don't care about these people. I don't want to know more about them. They can do whatever they want. I don't care. I don't want to spend any more time on it. Of a 2.5 hour, this movie should not have been 2.5 hours. It should not have been.
I think we're
I
gonna
know.
have to,
I know.
we're gonna agree to disagree on this.
Very
But
much
again,
so.
this is the only one of Tarantino's movies that really does this. I think to a smaller extent, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood does a few little like flashback, flash forward things. Not nearly as egregious as this, but it sticks with the two main characters. Jackie Brown stays with Pam Grier. The Kill Bill movies, they focus solely on the bride. They will then tell a story about another character and then go back to her.
Yeah.
Inglourious Bastards. Inglourious Bastards does jump around a lot, but it's still a linear A to Z story. And then Django, same thing.
Yeah. It's just
And
like,
then The Hateful Eight is, and I'll be honest with you, and this is why I feel, I don't care for The Hateful Eight. I think it's overlong. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not as engaging. The characters aren't as engaging. And the less said about Death Proof, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, before this, the only things of Tarantino I'd seen was that 5-minute scene in Sin City and
Nobody counts that.
I want to say like the 3rd or 4th season finale of CSI. And honestly, nothing I'd seen before had made me want to see more of Tarantino. And now that I've seen like his big huge movie,
This
his
is
breakout movie, I have no desire to see anything more he does. It's just he's not a director I drift towards.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair.
Not my forte.
Right. It's like me and James Cameron. It's like me and Denis Villeneuve. It's like me and most of Christopher Nolan's work. It is what it is. I appreciate you watching it. I appreciate you watching with an open mind.
To be fair, I probably didn't have all that open in mind.
All right, well that's fair. So maybe I will make you watch the Kill Bill movies. If we review those, we're reviewing them together. There's no point. Even he doesn't consider them to be two separate movies.
Yeah.
But that's
that might be like a single review, but that's going to take me a while to watch through with those two movies.
It is long. It's long, and I think it was cut for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
And again, you get that Miramax thing right in the front. I just try to think. I mean, it's tough. And anybody who is watching right now, if you think that there was a more accessible, based on our conversation, a more accessible Tarantino movie that Mike might enjoy, drop that in the chat now, because I'd be really interested. I feel like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the least problematic, other than the Bruce Lee scene, and I think a lot of that is just because I think Bruce Lee's family just went ape shit over how Bruce Lee was treated in that, even though I guess he was known for starting shit on Hollywood backlots just so we could beat up people.
What about the whole Manson stuff?
The Manson stuff isn't really, you don't, quite honestly, it's revisionist history. I'm not going to spoil anything other than that. The Manson stuff is subtle. It's very, very subtle. You're not watching Helter Skelter. You're not watching, whatever you see, you are just seeing subtle nods to the Manson family. And that is it. But, that I will leave that up to you. I think it's a good movie. I know Kurt loves Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which would be the one, but it's long. I have a theory about the Bruce Lee stuff, but I'll save that for later. Awesome. Bring him in on one of these. But not Death Proof, because, Grindhouse was just, you do Grindhouse as an experience and nothing else. And Planet Terror was a way better movie.
Yeah.
Because in Death Proof, I didn't get to see Fergie get, eaten by zombies. So
Yeah.
that was Pulp. Yeah, so that was Pulp Fiction. So it goes out to you all now. What are your thoughts on Pulp Fiction? Have you seen it? Has it been a while since you've seen it? Where does this rank in your Tarantino movies?
I had to, after I finished watching, I actually had to watch My Little Pony to make me cheer myself up afterwards. Because, like, okay, things aren't bleak and dark and bloody. They're happy.
Well, you know what the funny thing about this movie is that for the amount of death, which by the way, this film strangely has a very low body count for a Tarantino film, especially if you watch Kill Bill 1. It has a very low body count, and realistically, it's not that depressing. I mean,
well, it does end on like a hopeful note for Jules, at least anyway.
Well, we know that Vincent's fucked.
Yeah, Vincent's got about 12 hours left to live after that scene.
Well, we don't know what the time frame is there. But what I do love though is that last shot where they finally said they got to get out of that diner, and they both look, and those are bathing suits. You know that the clothes they took from Jimmy were bathing suits. Put their guns in there and then walking out.
We sort of know the timeline because they wake up like Butch and Fabian wake up at like what 9?
Well,
they have to get to the train by 11.
They have to get to the train, but all right. So here's the timeline. All right, so Pumpkin and Honey Bunny rob the diner. Vincent and Jules stop the robbery, leave the diner, go to Marcellus's bar where Butch is receiving his money for throwing the fight.
Right.
Okay, that's in the fifth your ass goes down. After that, Vincent takes Mia out on a date, and then
we're assuming that Marcellus doesn't kill Jules for trying to leave.
That's very true because technically the last time we see Jules is at the bar.
Yeah.
And then we see Mia say, "I never thanked you for dinner the other night," and that was the night that Butch not only didn't throw the fight but killed that boxing man. And so I understand. It's like, where's this, but overall, I just. So where does it rank in your annals of get out of there? I just got a kitten trying to grab my feet. Where does this rank in your annals of Tarantino films? What was in the briefcase?
Something beautiful, apparently.
Well, yeah, it's not Marcellus Wallace's soul. That one was shot down by Tarantino himself. Still won't say what's in there, but so we want to know what your thoughts are. Leave a polite comment below. Give us a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way you get cool retro movie reviews every week. Next week, it's my turn to be surprised by Mike's pick. Mike, what are we talking about next week?
Well, for as bloody and awful as this one was, next one we're going to have something wholesome and pure and loving. We're watching a Goofy movie.
Okay. And I'm looking for I've never seen a Goofy movie, so
it is a musical. There are songs in there, so
yeah, I know there are songs in there. I'm familiar with certain aspects of it. I'm also familiar that Pauly Shore is in it, so
yeah. In a small side role.
Yeah. I just after seeing like clips of his Pinocchio. He did a Pinocchio animated film that was funded by, I believe, the Russian government. And John Heater of Napoleon Dynamite fame plays the voice of a horse. So
sure, why not?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, looking forward to watching that. That's when I can actually watch with the kids and I don't have to hang out down here listening to motherfucker this, motherfucker that, N-word, bang, 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 bang. So I can watch it upstairs. So yeah. Can't wait to talk about that. So, Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We just released our episode of our picks for some non-Marvel DC movies. So, if you haven't listened to that yet, download that. Go listen to that. Listen to our other shows in the archive as well. Follow us on social media at Geek Salad Radio on Twitter and Geek Salad Podcast on Facebook. Check out our wares at the T Public Store, keyword Geek Salad Podcast. And until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful, motherfucker. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.